profile right after.
Awesome. So then I guess that was the question I was gonna ask you initially, because obviously like you're a co-founder of the platform. What role did you play in that? Is that the the kind of what you've explained so far, that you've kind of just been the person to segue everybody to each other, and it became that role, or you like tech side, artistry side, or is it it's like that? It's just, man, we need a platform to make this happen. I know so and so, and I know X amount of artists. Like, let's make it happen. Is that how that went,
Yeah,
or?
great question. So it was kind of a mix of a couple different things. One was, especially during COVID, I started helping a lot of my friends sell their catalogs.
Mm.
And
Oh,
when
that's a
they're selling
heartbreaker
their
too.
catalogs, they're losing a major revenue stream, so they're
Right.
interested in a new revenue stream.
Right.
Number two is Mike and Kilmer have been, close friends for over a decade now.
Awesome.
Mike put out his very first song on a music blog that I used to run, and that's how they met. Kilmer and Mike was
Mm.
through the blog.
Dude, I found Mike when I was like, and I'm not gonna say I've been a fan since that day. I've seen him like come and go throughout like my socials and stuff. But where I was on him was, man, I was like 13 or 14, because his music blew up in like the Call of Duty scene
Uh-huh.
for some time. So like he became a familiar face there, and then I stumbled upon him maybe like 2 years ago again. I'm like, oh shit, he's still. I mean, he never stopped, obviously, but I was
Yeah,
like, dude, he
yeah,
got
but it
huge
was a
in the time.
rebrand and reached whole new heights and all that.
Right,
But yeah,
right. That's what I was impressed by.
and that music blog, it was called Good Music All Day, and I sold parts of Spotify, parts of Live Nation, and parts to a company called Verge in like 2015, 2016. But that
Holy
was
shit.
during those 6 years. That was when I formed a lot of the original relationships with people like Mike or other artists.
Right.
And then yeah, so helped some people start selling their catalogs. The other side was, I really realized that I do not like the business side of being an entrepreneur. I do not like money. I don't like money people. I don't like managing. I didn't like a lot of that. So the other couple companies I had done, I knew I needed partners and somebody else,
Is
to really form a team
is that
around me.
more of like when you say you don't like the business side, is it more of because it's an extra like ball to juggle in that aspect, or is it more of like the people that come with it and the conversations that come with it? You're like, this is kind of unnatural to me. I like to be here, more of the artist mindset.
Yeah,
Like,
I
what side
think
is that?
I mean it's just a personal preference. I think for me personally, I'm not driven by money. I'm
Right.
driven by freedom and happiness. And typically the people that I know, especially when it comes to the startup space, when you need investors and that kind of stuff, the really rich people that are interested in getting richer, typically for me are just not people that I would be friends with or want to talk to. They're just
Right, because
different
they're not in the
different
space.
values,
Yeah.
different principles, and that kind of stuff. And for me, that doesn't make me a good entrepreneur if I don't care if you give me $1 million, whether or not you make $10 million or not. So
Right. It's
like,
just a
I
more of
need people that
accomplishing the
do care.
goal and doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I would rather eat ramen noodles and love my life and find a way to live on a budget than make a bunch of money and screw over a bunch of friends and whatever. So
Right.
but yeah, so then helping people sell their catalogs, I saw Mike and Kilmer started getting some traction with Only Steve's, and my first thought was I need to find a platform to replicate this on. One, to help Mike and Kilmer because the platform they were on wasn't great,
Yeah.
and two, I have hundreds of friends that would do this exact same thing if we could find the platform.
Right.
And so I did a bunch of research into like why Patreon didn't work with artists and what the other
Mm.
alternatives were at the
Yeah.
time. I found another company that was the big thing that I knew is that there needed to be a free tier option for artists
Right.
because artists would rather complain about Spotify not paying them than ask their fans for money for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just in general. So I found a company that had the free tier. and negotiated with them to start up their music division.
Mm.
And by the time those negotiations were up and we were starting, they decided to mainly focus on like what I call solo entrepreneurs that were like golf instructors or online coaches or that kind
Ah,
of
they took
stuff.
a different route with it.
Yeah, and I had to have a tough conversation with them that was like, once again, you guys are paying me great, but I can't risk my reputation to try to get my friends on this
Right. Like
platform
we
when
need
the
a platform
platform
that's
is not good for us.
artist first, that's geared towards them. Because
Yep,
because just like you said, looking into like Patreon or other stuff, like it would make the artist the minority again.
yep, exactly. And that
Mm-hmm.
was not what I was interested in. So it just so happened my partner Finn had built a platform for his then fiance and now wife, who was like, she sells like healthy cooking recipes and that kind of stuff. And she didn't want to use Patreon or OnlyFans. So he had built this
Fair.
platform for her, but he couldn't get the adoption from anybody else in that market. And
Right.
I got introduced to him and basically convinced him, hey, this tech and this platform that you built and you saw, you're just targeting the wrong people. We need to target artists and
Right.
even just independent artists in the US, and we can get to a 9-figure valuation.
For sure.
And so at the top of last year in January of 03, I basically told him, I was like, look, you don't have to pay me or give me anything. Let me just get a couple friends on and we can see if it works or not. And it took, I think, all of 2 weeks. And then he saw the value and we agreed on our partnership. And it was kind of just me and him. And then over
Right.
those first 10 months, I kind of formed out the artist side. So both brought Mike and Nick and Kilmer on as
Mm.
like artist partners for the company, but also during those first 10 months, just getting my friends on the platform. So
Right.
getting like Somo and Manelli and Forrest Frank and Connor Price and Nick and just guys that I knew would be of benefit. And the main reason was
Right.
they needed to help us build the platform. So for the first 10 months, we were invite only, and every 2 weeks we would implement a new feature that was based on the artist using the platform.
Right.
And after those 10 months, we decided the platform had gotten to a point where we could open it up.
Yeah, where you can full
And
launch it.
yeah, and since October we've gone from 40 artists on the platform to thousands, and not spent a single dollar in marketing or really social media or anything like that. It's really just we focus on make sure that the tech and the product is as good as possible and make sure
Right.
that the team like myself is here to super serve the people that are on the platform and using it. So people,
Right, because
like,
it's one of those things where it's like you're not gonna adjust the infrastructure based on like outside feedback because you're saying it's not necessarily geared towards like what social media is saying in reference to it, but it's like
yeah,
what's the artist experience.
amen.
Right.
And the idea is like, I believe two things. I believe one, that groups would be valuable for any artist of any size, especially just with free push notifications and free custom emails. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
service to me is valuable to anybody. But at the same time, I'm not interested in having every artist on the platform. I'm interested in the artists that see the real value
Right.
of a community and want it to be a win-win with their fans. I want to super serve those artists and turn them into the biggest believers, which then leads to their artist friends wanting to join
Right.
and more friends joining. So
And that was the thing I was looking into also because a few months, I wouldn't say a full year yet, but like some months ago, um, I'm always doing research. I'm always watching a podcast, an interview, whatever that looks like. So I've like deep dived onto like Nick's channel. La Russell's like one of my favorite artists too, and La Russell
yeah,
obviously had launched like Even,
yep,
and the first thing I thought of, which is funny now because now they have the whole beta rollout for it, but I was like, this is dope, but what if there was a subscription? I was like,
yep,
what if that turned into monthly revenue?
totally,
Coincidentally, 4, 5, 6
yep,
videos later, I see Nick's thing about Groot. I'm like, no shit. So
yep,
so I tap in there, and I've seen it because I just kind of do the numbers with my friend, and I was like, look, I got Victor and Ernie who pay 10 a month. That's $20 a month. I'm like, I do that 100 times over. I was like, with 200 fans, I make $2,000 a month. I can quit my
Amen.
job and do this full time. And like that's what people like aren't tapped into. To
Yep.
where like that's why I share it so much, because like I'm not a huge artist yet. I'm
Yep.
on my way, but it's like I've helped put like a friend of mine, Matic, on and have him go on there, and he has way more music than me. And I was like, dude, you could just dump it there. If you don't plan to
Amen.
release it, if you're stuck on a mix, if you're what I'm like, you can just dump it there. I've got to do a better job at it, but I'm very like insecure when it comes to my demo music. I'm like, if it's not done, I don't want to share it.
Yep.
But I love to use the platform as that buffer to gauge where my fan base is, as in even just from the first launch I made more money than I did in a year off of streaming.
Yeah.
and
That's
and
that's
that
such a
and that's
beautiful
not even
thing.
a lot of money. That's
Yeah.
$50. Like that's
Yeah.
nothing, but it's like I drop one thing on there, use that as a buffer for a week and a half, and
Yep.
it shows. It's like, okay, so instead of me focus on this massive number and chasing A, B, C, and D, if I
Yep.
see, okay, who does fuck with me, let me look at this email list. I can refeed these people and see what that looks like. And it's not to use them as a money grab, but it's more of like artists will look at that huge number. Like it's the same concept of you have 1 million followers, but you can't do a 200 cap venue.
Yep.
It's like if
Totally.
you just focus on the 200 cap venue, you might be surprised that you can actually do a 500 because you sell out that fast.
Amen.
And
Amen. And
people
that's
are reverse
where,
engineering it.
yeah, and you totally get it. And that's where like my passion and like my skill set with artists is typically, I believe that the successful artist can make a living off of their art and support themselves and their loved ones, which even if you have a family and a wife and kids and all of that, like if you can make 100K a year, you should be able to live pretty good.
Yeah.
And I believe that just about any artist in 2 or 3 years should be able to do that, even if you're making harmonica, metal, ska music. Like,
Right.
doesn't really matter as
Yeah,
much
even if
about
you're
the
super
music.
niche, but that's the
Yeah.
purpose of the
And,
platform.
and I think that the problem that a lot of artists get into is trying to do everything at once and trying to appeal to everyone at once instead of really just honing in on the people that rock with you and honing in on what you enjoy doing. Like if you
Right.
don't enjoy doing TikToks, don't waste your time doing TikToks because you think you need to. Either find a way
Right.
that you can enjoy making the content for TikTok, or use your diehard fans to come up with the TikTok ideas so you're not wasting time. And then
Right.
you're able to at least just do it quickly. But
Just to
like,
feed them, yeah.
but that's a big one. And then the other part is I think everybody talks about these days that being a fan of the music isn't enough and people need to be fans of you as a human being and like what you stand for. And unfortunately, social media, it's really hard to take people from a passive follower into an active fan because you rely on the algorithms, and
Right.
the algorithms normally don't like long unedited content or a 3-minute selfie video or whatever.
Right.
They
Right.
just don't perform well and they hurt the rest. So the real value of group to me, even if you don't have the paid tiers, is you're getting them from a passive follower and just with the free tier into a community that they have the chance to become an active fan and a fan of you as a human being, which means now when you go to sell merch or you go to sell a t-shirt,
Yeah.
those people aren't going to buy it.
It's like a foot in the door, method.
And those people that are in your group are the ones that do want to support you. And so like when you drop merch, announcing it on your socials where 95% of the people aren't interested, they're not going to engage with it.
It
It's
may
not
not
going to
do
do
well, but if
Like,
you do a first come first, not first come first serve, but it's like I'm gonna cater to you first because I know you're
Exactly.
definitely gonna do it. These people can catch on after.
Yep. And then you see it work all the way around. Like even somebody like Mike, like, that 5 million monthlies and only, the 10,000 people in his group, but those 10,000 people not only lead to $1 million a year on groups, a whole new revenue stream of making $1 million a year.
That's insane.
But in addition to that, those same 10,000 people are the ones that also make up for 2/3 of the revenue for his clothing brand, Stevenson Ranch, and that's doing millions of dollars. So like, and
Right.
they're the ones that are also buying tickets to this last tour and doing that. So like,
Yeah. So in
they're getting
reality,
their
one
value
avenue
for
really created 3 or 4 different streams of
three
revenue.
yeah, three revenue streams that are all successful, that are all off of it. But I think the tough part with artists is the comparison game just naturally happens. There's so much to do, so many other artists. You're always looking for inspiration, and at times that gets to the point where you think you need X amount of followers, you think you need to do certain things.
Right.
And I always tell people, realistically, you don't. Like, every artist is completely different. Look at somebody like Nick D, who decides merch isn't worth his time. He hates it. He doesn't even sell merch for 2 years, but
Yeah.
he can make $1 million a year on streaming. And then you have somebody like Chance the Rapper that doesn't release music for a year, but can make $1 million a year on a number 3 hat because he wears it all the time. So like, you
Mm.
can, like, if your goal is to make it, you can do one
Yeah.
thing and do it really
And
well.
then
Nick's really good.
that's wild too, because it's like it shows that you can be on either end of the spectrum, and it still
Yeah, and
happen to
there's no
work.
right or wrong. And somebody like Nick doesn't do live shows because 5 days out of the week he's with his family, and that's more important than anything else. But that doesn't mean he can't make a living and make more money than most artists do.
Right.
But to me, the problem is when artists are like, oh, I need to sell a bunch of merch, I need to do a bunch of shows, I need to get the streams, I need to get the groups, and then you're half-assing 15 things instead of just being like, the
Mm.
only 2 things I need to do, I need to focus on creating dope stuff that I enjoy creating,
Right.
and I need to make sure that I'm catering to the people that really rock with me.
Yeah. I think.
Outside of that, you use social media as a free marketing tool. If you're going to spend time on social media, play into what the algorithm's like. And that's the most
Yeah.
important part. Social media should be used for the idea that how beautiful is it? You could, while you're sleeping, end up with 1,000 new passive followers. That's great.
Right. As
But
long as the
unless you
content
have
is
a
good
plan,
enough. Yeah. As
there's
long as the
nothing,
content's good.
there's no point. Yeah.
I think that's where like I've been caught up too, because I was gonna ask you about the like some of the merch beta. Well,
Yeah.
like to go back to the point of like artists having to do 100,000 things. I think it's one because when it comes to public perception, you see major label artists and they have every avenue kind of taken care of them. But obviously, nobody knows the back end. Nobody knows that that's potentially a 360. They're not seeing the money from it and whatever. It's just something that the label will capitalize off. But I think for me, I get so caught up in independent artists and seeing how much they do, but then I don't know how much of a team they do have and how that's happening. So I was gonna ask about the merch beta just because I know if I read it correctly from what I was communicated,
Yep.
that you guys open the door kind of like is it Shopify that does it? There's a few platforms that do it, but that you submit a design and that you guys will handle production, which with whatever company you guys use. So do I
Yeah.
have that correct? That you guys handle
Yeah.
production
Yeah.
side
So
and shipping and
basically,
everything.
yeah. Yeah, so for the last 3 months, I've met with, yeah, Shopify, Printful, Amaze, Springtree, just all the big players to find the right partner for us, because a lot of the issues that we wanted to solve with it were both the no risk and no money up front, so having the print on demand option,
Right.
also making sure that whatever it wasn't just the products but was also a storefront, so you didn't need a Shopify store and Printful, that it could all be a
Right.
storefront
That's what I was gonna
as
ask
well.
too, because it said you guys will do CDs and vinyls too, right?
Yeah, we're just about anything. Yeah, literally just about it. I mean, puzzles, fucking kimonos, like, yeah, you can do, yeah, just
Yeah.
basketball jerseys, whatever your mind can think of.
Right.
But so we needed the print on demand side, and then the other side was if you were gonna do screen printing or like a limited release or pre-sale, and you sell, 60 of them or whatever. It used to be for a lot of the screen printers or whatever, you'd have to buy 100, they'd ship them to you, and then you
Right.
have to ship them to customers. And ours, it was very important that we had the option for our merch distributors to be in charge of all of that, so that they are the ones taking the orders, they're shipping it from them to the customers, so that way you're not having to deal with inventory or
Right,
shipping
and that
costs
and
or
that's
anything.
if we try to put our hand on the steering wheel a little more. Like if we say, hey, I
And that's
want
it.
this
Yeah. So the
design, I
difference
want
with the
this
screen
material.
printing and those pre-sales is it's a little bit higher quality, but so you make a little bit less. And if you don't do it as a pre-sale window where like you can only buy it during these 2 weeks and then it's done, if you do it that way, then all we're doing is fulfilling those orders. There's still no risk of leftover inventory or anything else.
Right,
But
there's no
if you
loss.
decide yeah, but if you decide I want to buy 100 hats, you can say I'll have 50 that I'll leave at the store to be able to have the fans buy, but I want 50 to be able to bring with me on tour. Or I want 50 to be able
Right,
to
so they can,
have
yeah,
at
so
my
they can be
house.
your active warehouse in a sense. Let me put an order
Exactly.
in, I'm gonna hit the road, or me if
Yeah.
I do a community event. Oh, I want
Yeah.
25 hats to bring. Okay,
Exactly.
okay,
Exactly. And so all we need realistically are the designs. Outside of that, you have a storefront that even if you don't want to use the grouped integration, is just like Shopify, where you can even hook a domain up to it. It could be called, run as merch.com or, whatever it might be.
oh really?
Yeah,
And
so
that's
you
gonna
can
make
do it
you,
that way, but also you can have it where it just lives in the group. So by the end of this year, there's going to be a fourth tab in your group that can be merch. So that way you could just have your merch store live
mm,
within your groups and make people sign up for free to
but
be
for
able
the
to buy
time
the name.
being, it will take you out of group. It will take you to their storefront.
It can, but like today in an hour and a half, we're launching Nick D's first shirt for this new album run, and
Right,
the only way to get it is directly in the group. So you have to sign up. You never leave grouped. It's all within the post, the entire checkout and everything. You never leave it.
right,
That's the integration that we did with Amaze. The rest of our partners, like Shopify or anybody else, will just be a standard iframe, but it's not as intricate. But this one with Amaze, who we went with them because one, they're the merch partner for YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, so they
okay,
have that security. And two, they're about to start targeting the music industry, so their first two partners are SoundCloud and us
awesome. That's
to
awesome.
do that with.
Right.
So yeah, it's really cool. I'll send you after this like a couple demos, and you'll be able to see Nick's in action and stuff. So
Okay.
today I'll do a
Awesome.
little follow up that way you can see it. But
Yeah, because
I'll
I
also
think that's
send
my
what
goal.
what we would need in order to set one up for you. But the crazy thing is, all we really need are the designs, and we use the Manelli one to show. Even if you don't have money to pay for designs or whatever, you can have have the community involved in the design,
Right.
where you don't have to pay a graphic designer to make the shirt. You can either come up with 5 ideas and have them vote on it, or you can say, hey, you guys come up with them and we'll pick the favorite and then we'll just touch it up and make it look good.
Oh, no deal. So so the platform will do that too. Like, hey, make me a mock design and then go run from there.
Yeah. So yeah, we can do all different things. The design is the one part that we need, and that's the one that Amaze has a design team. We have a person that we're bringing on for designs as well,
Right.
that can be there. But for most artists that are getting launched in this beta time, they're coming with their own, whether it's a PNG or PSD file, for the design that they want.
Right. That's what I'm working on now. Actually, he's actually one of like my subscribers. You said a PNG or a PSD file, right?
Yeah, those are the yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
those are the two.
He's well. I actually know him. He used to be a coworker. He's like a close friend of mine. But he's also a subscriber too. So he's always engaged in everything on there. So I messaged him, and he does graphic design. That's what he went to school for. He makes his own art and everything. So I'm like, hey, do you want to sit down and make up a design? Because right now I'm gonna be rolling it out in October. I'm wrapping up an EP that I'm gonna launch through you guys first. Like I have with like my first EP, my last couple releases and everything. In which to me too, whenever I've taken my time and curated at least a package, like for me, singles don't work as well. Like sometimes they'll do, but they'll kind of be a slow burn. Like I did a song called like About to Change, and it seemed like kind of dead like that first week, but now it's already my number one song on Spotify. So that kind of slow burn the more content I feed to it, right?
Yep.
But project wise and kind of turnaround fan engagement, where I've seen like my either my members go up or some more revenue is when I do like an EP or something, because I kind of I'll try to take my group page and make it into a world in that sense.
Totally.
So that's gonna get rolled out first. But then the goal thereafter, because for what I'm trying to do is like, in that sense, when I know I take my time and I package something better, I'm gonna use the rest of the year to kind of create new music. But in that same pocket, before the end of the year, I want to have a storefront get put up.
Yeah.
So where like
totally.
either they can buy the CDs, which I may like do an order for, because that was the thing too. I've been fishing to certain I think it's United Manufacturing, or there's a couple other platforms I was looking at, but now I can go through you guys. But I want to have that storefront up before the end of the year, because there's a gap where I'm not releasing music and focusing more on content, because I'm doing better at the documentation now. I'm having a friend of mine who helps record all my content, which he's not a like professional videographer by any means, but he helps me shoot, and that's the important part. He's gonna start helping me engineer my sessions now, to where I can kind of stay on the mic and everything, and I can focus on documenting it. And the point I'm trying to get to is like, so that way, if I'm not releasing much music, I can at least still push my brand for the remainder of the year and see who I can bring in. So where at top of the year, if I have a new project or I go on a different single run and see how that fares me, it could work at least. So
yeah, and you're in exactly the right headspace, because what we normally say is the big events that happen in an artist's career are where you normally get the upgrades from. The rest of the year is where you just share more of the day to day of what you're up to, and that keeps the existing paid people subscribed. Is they're kind of getting the updates, getting the whatever you're working on at that time. But when it comes to like an album coming out, like there's everything from being able to put the album in there as pay what you want to hear it early, but you can also encourage the monthly tiers by doing stuff like, within a month you can have, hey, the paid members get to hear the album early. You can hear the album on Monday. On Friday, we're going to do a live stream listening party together. Right. I'm going to play through the album and I'm going to talk about the songs with the paid members. Then the next week, we're going to do a content live stream where you guys are going to pick the songs and tell me what content ideas did you guys have for social media. Tell me, when you heard this song, did you have an idea for something I should do for TikTok or whatever? Like,
and literally garner it towards them.
You turn the album into like 4 or 5 cool experiences for them that to them is like, oh my God, $9, and I'm getting to hear it. I'm getting to vote on the artwork for it. I'm getting to pick the track list order. I'm getting to help with the content. Like, you turn it into something that, yes, then new people coming in are like, oh my God, I get to do all of this for $9 a month or whatever the price is. And it's a no-brainer. And then you keep them subscribed by the next month. Just that simple 2-minute selfie video of like, yo guys, honestly, all I did was sleep this week. Like, I've been so burnt out from this album thing. All I did was crash. You guys got any Netflix recommendations? Like, you just show like the normal side of you, and people stay engaged because now they're fans of you as a human being. And they're like, doesn't matter if you share the demo or if you're asking them what's on Netflix, as long as you're feeding to them and not the masses on social media, they feel special, and that's all that people want that are giving you their money.
That's what I was I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's what I've been trying to orchestrate for the EP now, because aside from just like doing the music like I did with my last one, we took a different approach with the content. And then I know I've heard like Nick plenty of times before, like, don't focus on music videos and blase. But I wanted to just try something different, because I feel like at least my fan base, they get more engaged the more detail I add rather than just the content. In which it's only 3 songs, so I said, how do we maximize this? I was sitting with my friend Gabe, the one who's been helping me record everything. And the way we were explaining how to do the content, because I'm trying to get better at content in the avenue of like, I want to head more into, I don't want to call it cinematography, but I want the look to be more professional, and I don't want it to feel, I don't want it to feel like content, but I don't want it to feel like a music video. I just want it to be like, let's use controlled lighting, let's make sure we're using a setting that makes sense for the song. My girlfriend is really good at styling. She does cosplay and stuff. I'm like, let's make sure the outfit is on point. Let's create something, right? So when we were jotting down all these ideas for it, we ended up coming up with the concept of a short film to where we play all 3 songs in sequence, but we're going to glue it together with the concept of what the EP is.
Love that.
So what I was intended to do, and then please, I'd love your advice on this, on how to roll it out. What I was going to do essentially was like top of the week, announce that it's on group. Like I'm getting a trailer made right now, like a very small trailer, just to be able to promote it on socials. Announcing the date that I probably won't not put the date on it that it'll come to streaming, but just more of like available exclusively on group, like I do with all my stuff. So that way, my stuff performs well on Friday streaming wise. I tried to do the whole Wednesday release strategy. People kind of ghost me. Friday works. People are just conditioned to that. So then either on the same Friday or the following, that's when it'll come to streaming. But I have this short film. So I'm wondering if I should have the short film, at least the way I was going to do it, was the day it's live on streaming, instead of just garnering people there, be like, hey, while it's maybe on streaming, let me redirect you back to group because there's a short film that goes along with it. The songs are going to make more sense to you.
Totally.
Then maybe give that another week, and then that's when I give it to YouTube because I'm also trying to grow that platform. I've been using shorts to grow it, but I'm trying to, like, again, step into that avenue. Would it be better to drop it as a package, or is it better to kind of divide it up into those sequences to keep running
Yeah, I
it back?
think dividing up into those sequences is good. And one of the cool things about Grouped is when stuff is publicly available, it should be a call to action for the people that want more. So like when you put the like visualizer, the mini documentary, that thing on YouTube or whatever, if somebody watches that, the goal is, how do I get them into my group? And the call to action in the description or at the end of the video could be join like the exclusive watch party, like live watch party and Q&A, like, next Friday in my group.
Right.
And then what you do is you do a watch party where you watch it with them, and you might be pausing it after like 30 seconds or something and talking about why you shot it that way or like what happened. But then people in the groups have already seen it. Some of the public has seen it. Now, even if there's only 2 people that join that, you have now a screen recording of that or that recorded. And now you have content to share on socials to be like, yo, if you're not in my group, this is what we did. We just watched it together. You can see the faces of the fans that were in there. So now you're having more content on socials, creating the FOMO, and then people are coming back in. But like, with that rollout, it's kind of like, look, I'm going to give you guys the album first. Then once the album comes out, I'm going to give you guys the video first. And then once the video comes out, I'm going to do the live stream with y'all. So like the one thing that the group that we see, which is kind of counterintuitive, nobody really gets mad when stuff comes out publicly. They're actually more happy because they get the chance now to say, I heard it first.
Right, and then they get a chance to share it more because they're not like, man, I know this is exclusively here, so I'm not going to be that guy that screen records and gives it to everybody else. It's like, now I can express how much I like it. I use the pay what you want. So what I was looking for was kind of like that middle ground between at the time when I first started, between like the subscription-based group style and then what the proud to pay thing for Even was. I was looking for that middle ground, and what's worked for me is doing a pay what you want, right, which automatically signs you up for a free account. And then, all right, hey, if you enjoyed this, just sign up for Pro because you're going to get access to the next one already. Yep. When it comes to something like a short film, what do you think is the best route to take? Should I keep that a a pro member exclusive only, or how do I open that up to, like, let's say a free member without it being like, hey man, I pay you X amount a month, why do I have the exclusivity? I forget, I don't know how to say the damn word.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
But
So
okay, go ahead.
it's kind of twofold. So there is some content that normally will either just be for the paid members or everybody has to pay what they want. That does happen. Somebody like Forrest Frank, when he does an entire album breakdown that he did as like an audio album, so it's basically a 3-minute audio of him explaining the song that's about to play, and then the song plays. So that album that's now 26 songs instead of 13, because it's 13 breakdowns, he did for that one, you only could be in the pro tier for that
Right.
one. You couldn't pay what you want or whatever. For Nick D, like what we're doing today with the shirt, is pro members get the album for free, but free members, if you don't want to upgrade and pay monthly, you can pay whatever you want and
Yeah,
pay the album.
that's what I'm gonna do. Go ahead.
And that to me makes more sense when like his album comes out in 2 weeks. So the people have 3 options. They have the option of they can wait the 2 weeks, they can choose to pay whatever they want right now, or they can be in the monthly tier and get that plus other shit.
And have it
And that
all
kind of
together.
makes sense. But for Forrest, who made that commentary album, and it's not going to be released publicly, so people can't just wait 2 weeks. That encourages the upgrade, where it's kind of like
you're gonna get more.
You're gonna be able to get this is by being in my paid tier.
Right. That's the route I plan to take music wise always, to where you know, come and get it from me first before you go ahead to streaming, and then obviously streaming is just, I want accessibility. Everybody should be able to hear my stuff. That's what I share it for. Unless obviously I'm in a scenario where, hey, like, this is very important, very special, this is only going to sit here. But when it comes to, because the short film is technically, it's a piece of content. When it comes to the piece of content, is it wrong to put a pay what you want paywall in front of it? Or should it only be for a pro member, and that's what I use to encourage them to go there? Or should it say, hey, you may not want to subscribe to me yet, go ahead and pay $3 if you want to see this film?
Yeah, I would think you would take more of the Nick route. Since it's eventually going to come out public, it's kind of like, look, if you want to wait, you totally can, because at the end of the day, I want you to see it.
Yeah, it'll eventually come to YouTube.
That's why I'm going to release it publicly. Yeah. But if you want to see it early and support me, it's always good to have the 2 options. You can choose to just pay what you want one time, because honestly, one of the things that we know in surveying we've surveyed a couple different times, thousands of different fans, and over 60% of the users pretty much live paycheck to paycheck. So adding a monthly subscription is actually hard for them to commit to, versus if you keep giving them options to either tip or pay what they want, they may have just had payday and they'll give you $25. Like, they might drop it the one time.
Yeah, they may drop it the one time rather than consistently.
So the pay what you want for that trailer could be like, hey, I don't know if I can commit to the $9 a month, but I do want to see this. I know you worked hard. I'm going to pay $5 and I do want to see it. And after they do that twice, then they're going to be like, well, I should stop maybe just doing these one times. Now I'm going to join the paid tier.
Right. In that case too, because there was something at least I was noticing when I was trying to put my friend onto Grouped, because he was not having difficulty, but the way he would lay out his hyperlink would kind of and I'm his friend. I was like, listen, the way you're laying this out on how to subscribe to you is deterring me. I was like, you're not making it very friendly. You're making it a little confusing. And maybe I'm wrong, because I'm still learning the ins and outs of the platform too, like as I go. Is there not a way to, so let's say, for example, right, the EP I'm having come out, right? Is there a way to make a link directly to that? As in, like, let's say I hit my phone, right? Once I click that link, it's going to go. And it's not going to take me to Renee's Grouped page. And then, because immediately it's already kind of, at least to me, at least when I open it, it's almost like, all right, now we're selling something. Granted,
Yep.
they might be there because they want to purchase the album, right? But now it's like, hey, sign up for free or do, and then we're gonna get you into here, and then they have to navigate to your album.
But,
Is there a feature that I'm missing to where it's like, hey, here's the link. The EP's called Canal Drive. Here's the link to Canal Drive, and when they click it, they're gonna see the cover, and then they're
yep.
gonna see pay what you want, which
Yep.
automatically once they click it, they'll have to do the sign up, or it's like, hey, pay for pro, get this and exclusive content to whatever. Because what I'll probably do is I'll already drop the short film in there for the pro members if they purchase it. So kind of like if somebody does decide to be a pro member early,
Yep.
I won't even announce the short film yet. That'll just be there as a surprise in the cut. But am
Totally.
I missing
Yeah,
that
that's
feature,
the
or
smart
is that
reason.
something that's being worked on? Because
Yep,
I
yeah.
feel like
So
that's one
something
thing. Yeah,
that's almost done. What we call those is custom landing pages, and the
bingo.
idea is we built the templates around the major events for an artist. So anytime you're releasing an album, doing a tour, have any type of documentary or video, and a merch drop. Those are the four that we're focusing on. You can have a landing page that is just about that, and it can be the one time purchase. And those people get dumped into the free tier of the group as a result. But there
Okay.
is nothing about the group. So when they go to that landing page, all they're doing is picking, do you want to pay what you want or whatever. We tried out our first custom landing page with Nicky Cass. If you go to nickycass.com, you can kind of see it. His was a little bit different, more of like testimonials and stuff. But that exact idea where if you're going for the album, then you're just putting the artwork. You can choose whether or not you want to show snippets of the songs. And then
Right.
you choose, do you want one fixed price? Do you want pay what you want? And do you even want to pitch the paid tier or not? And same with like tours. When you RSVP, it's technically for the free tier. Or if you want to be able to buy an upgrade like a meet and greet, then that's putting you in the paid tier, like whatever for that.
Right.
Same with the documentaries or long form videos. So those custom landing pages are kind of what we call like the easy funnel into your group.
Right.
Anytime somebody is going to want to buy or sell something, those are the people that should be in your group. But
Right.
sometimes it's better to have them end up in there and get surprised with more stuff than to
Exactly.
try to convince them of a community up front when all they're
Yeah,
trying to
because
do.
it was for me. It's like it makes it like you said, it's like a funnel, but it's almost like you have to get them through a strainer first. Like they have
Yeah.
to go onto the page, then they're gonna have to do the sign up, then they're gonna see there, then they're gonna have to hit the media tab, then they're gonna have to scroll, and it's like, man, if we could just get just to the, you know what I'm saying, the same way like you want to go on iTunes, you want to look up Post Malone, you're gonna hit Post Malone, the first thing there is a song, you press add, you know. Is there like an ETA on when that's gonna be available for everyone?
I know that it will. I know that the album and the tour ones, and the merch one or the album, tour is last. Album, merch, and video should be done. I can actually tell you exactly. I believe it's by Halloween, but let me double
Ooh.
check. By November 2nd.
By November 2nd.
Is when that should be done. So
Right,
the
because
next
right now I know it's
4
in the
weeks,
beta and you have to request access, right?
that will happen before then. I'll hit you. I'm gonna make a note. So I'll hit you as soon as the beta is open.
Okay, yeah, because I know there was an email
We kind of
for.
have we have what's called an alpha and a beta and then a live. So the alpha is when we have like the case studies, kind of like what Manelli just did for our merch.
Right.
Then we have the beta, which is when we have to handhold. So like we could get your merch or somebody else's set up, but it's not DIY. You're not doing it. And then when we release something publicly, it's basically like now you can do it on your own and anybody can do it without.
Yeah,
having to
once
go
it's
through
like,
it.
all right, training wheels are off, everybody gets it. Let's
Exactly.
open the door for. Okay, once it's user
So I'll
friendly
hit you
enough.
for the alpha because that'll definitely be available by then.
Awesome, perfect. Because hopefully that'll be there by the time it's out. I mean, I'm thinking I'm dropping this probably mid-October, the latest, because we're almost done with the main layout of the short film. I'm cleaning up the masters still right now. My photographer's getting me back with the EP cover. I'm getting a track list cover. So I'm still in the final stages, but I'm thinking mid-October. So if that's up beforehand and I can get my hands on it, that'll be, you'd be doing me a blessing. I appreciate it. Uh, oh, and just to double down on the like the storefront, once that goes live by like November 2nd, um, are we gonna be able to have one? Because I want to begin giving, because so for some of my pro members, I've given them royalties on their favorite songs. Like I hit Ernie, I said, "What's your favorite song? What do you spin by me all the time?" Oh, I love Upset Freestyle and I love Second Guess. Here you go. Here's 10%. You know, like it's not much off of me right now because 10% is nothing. But I was like, it was the gesture that he appreciated. Um, so what I had asked before, I asked on the group, on the actual group Instagram, and it wasn't you. I forget who I had to message or like that I emailed, and they hadn't got back to me. When it comes to the hard analytics of that, I'm still not able to see who purchases what. So, for example, I wanted to give more people royalties back on something that they have purchased. I have a friend of mine. We're not close no more, but we used to play football when we were kids. He decided to jump in when I dropped it. I released a new song, and he bought it for $50 right out the gate. So I know he did it because of the time sequence and because of the conversation, right? But let's say I have random fan who I don't know on any personal level. They purchase a song for $5. Not to say they're entitled to royalties, but if I want to give this person 2%, it shows me what people have spent, but it hasn't shown me what people have purchased. Is that going to get integrated too?
It should. So it should always show you who did what. So, like, if you have a folder that you're selling that's a pay what you want, or somebody has to pay something for it, when you're in the folder, you should see everybody's name, email, and how much they bought it for.
So it's within the folder. It's not in the analytics tab.
If that was what you were looking for in the analytics tab, you won't be able to see which media piece it was.
Yeah, it just says lifetime spend, right? But in the media tab, it says who purchased what.
Yeah, it says who purchased what. When you click on the dollar value that you've made, it'll pop up with the people's names, because that's what we did. The same thing for Nick D's album, which was anybody that spent over $100 would get a random FaceTime call. And like, we didn't tell anyone that, but that's how we used it. Was, hey, we're gonna look at it. Anybody that did, we shot an email with the Calendly, and we're like, hey, pick a time, you might get a surprise.
Okay, so that's my fault. I kept looking for the analytics, and I was like, I see the names.
I made a note of it, and I'm gonna I'll follow up just to double check and show you a screenshot of it.
Okay. I know you said touring will come along with that package too, the tour merch and album stuff. Because I had an idea. So right now we're working on remodeling my living room, and we want to kind of, for the easiest way to explain it is like we want to make our own tiny desk. We want to like turn the living room into a vibe. I have some studio lights, but I plan to buy more, so that way, like, once I begin doing Q&As, maybe just like one-on-one giving game conversations, because I'm still in school also, like I'm also studying music business. I mean, I've self-taught like a whole bunch, but constantly I'm finding myself just messaging artists or having artists message me like, hey, how do you set up your pub? How do you, and I've had to do breakdowns, so I know eventually I'm gonna get into the route, at least the type of artist I want to be, to where it's like, I know how to steer the ship, here you go. What I was thinking was, when I want to do those performances, right? Let's say part of that rollout becomes EP, short film, Q&A, but then I say, hey, I want to perform these 3 songs live plus some more. I know the touring option is open, but would that mean it's going to become its own ticketing platform too, to where I say, hey, if you want to watch me perform this Friday at 8 p.m., here's the link, custom landing page, and it's like, hey, you can purchase a ticket for $5 to access the stream. Because right now I have it to where my live streams are only available to my pro members. But if you want to be a free member and you want to pay a ticket to a show, which turns into whatever it turns into, I may answer questions on the live stream, whatever. Are we able to do that? Is there a paywall for live streams, so where it feels like purchasing a ticket?
Yes. So the one thing that you can't do yet, but it's already being tested on the dev, is have a live stream that is both free for paid members and charged a ticket for. But for any live stream and any media, any post, anything on the platform, the four options are: you can make it free for everybody, you can make it only available to a certain tier, you can make it a one-time fixed price, or you can make it pay what you want. So you can do those for a live stream as well. We
Okay.
have a lot of artists that what they'll do, instead of making it free for the like premium members or whatever, what they'll do is they'll say live stream this Friday, it's $10. Pro members check the comments and they'll lock the comments for 50% off the ticket and then give them their code. So when the pro members go to purchase,
Mm,
they put in a code and now instead of 10,
right.
it's $5. And that way everybody's having to pay, but the pro members are still
Right.
getting a full.
I'd probably give it to my pro members for free, just because I feel like that would be my way to um give more traction to becoming a pro member, because they're
Yeah.
like, man, I can pay $10 to watch it right now, but if I pay the
Yeah.
same $10 monthly, I'm already locked in for the next one. So that's
Yep,
probably what I do.
and that's what will be available. You'll be able to do both. You'll be able to do paid tier, and then it'll say what do you want the options for free to be. Either they have to upgrade to paid, or you can give them the option of the single price or pay what you want for the free members.
Okay, and you're able to do like a live stream announcement that can like does it put reminders? Does it do anything like that
It
too?
puts the time countdown and stuff. One of the things that the live streams will do is it'll automate a message. I believe it's 30 minutes before the live stream starts. That will be a push notification and email. Outside of that, you can let anybody know at any point. But yeah, when you schedule the live, that will send out the notifications and that can live as a post.
Right,
And
I would
then
want it to like live as a post like that, so I can keep relinking
yeah,
it, so that way people can keep returning to it
yeah,
at least leading up to it. Like if I do it like a week out.
totally. And it's good because right after then, even if somebody missed it, they can still buy the ticket and watch the replay directly in the platform.
That's true. It'll get added just to the media, correct?
Yeah, yeah. It'll add into the
Oh,
media and the home feed of anybody that bought access to the live will have access to the replay. Assuming that when the live stream starts, you hit yes to record it.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so yeah, there's a whole lot that I still haven't. I haven't. I've barely gone under the hood. That's crazy. Yeah, there's a whole lot there,
There's a lot. There's a lot.
man. Okay, that's a lot to ponder on. Okay, yeah, and then what I was gonna do too is I have essentially the entire photo shoot from the like selecting the cover. It's like 5 gigs of pictures. I'm just gonna drop that. Am I able to do that much on there? 5 gigs.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just had an artist do our biggest one yet, which was 18 gigabyte studio session. Yep.
Holy shit. Yeah, yeah. For that one's just pictures, but it's just to like I'm just trying to decorate this as much as possible. But like, yo, if you want to see all the shots we didn't use, raw, unedited, like just to see what that night was like, here's 5 gigs of it. You know.
Yep. Yep.
Um, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, we have an artist, Johnny Chocolate or Terrible Johnny from the band Highway Suspect, and he's got one of the most engaged group communities. But one of the things he did is he did a photo album that's called like my iPhone camera roll or whatever, and literally just it's pay what you want for everybody, and all he does is every single picture he takes once a week or twice a week, he'll just dump them in there, and everybody gets to see basically his camera roll.
Like what he
Not
partook in that
edited, not
entire week.
filtered, no anything. Yeah,
Holy crap. Okay. Yeah, cuz
yeah,
that was the next thing I was going into, that like for the rest of the year while I am making music, I plan to like for most likely for pro members only, I'm going to do cuz I really liked what like Drake did with the like 100 gigs thing where you're seeing like
yeah,
live studio sessions, well, post studio sessions. Um to where like for the pro members, they're going to be able to see song for song what's being made.
yeah,
Again, I set up all my lights in my room, whatever, and we just created like an actual session once a week. My friend's gonna come over and we're gonna do that. So that way, it doesn't feel like content. It feels like just creating, but we're doing with the intention that it's gonna be content later on. It's documentation. So where like they can watch everything bit by bit, and then maybe, you know, as the weeks go on, just drop it to YouTube almost unannounced. So that way it's like if you're subscribed on YouTube, you'll get it for free as it comes. But if you want to see it like literally day after I record something, the song may not be out, but you'll be able to see the studio session right away.
Love that. Love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And because like I saw the how he does everything. You know, Drake practically record everything with the lights off, and like that's what I do in my room when it's time to video edit, do anything. I set up my like little Govee lights. I keep everything real low, and that's what. So I was like, perfect. I need to. People seem to like that look, and that's something I already do. So that'd be nice. I think I'm good on questions on the platform. I want because you've had a clearly like you know what you said 15 years in the game and whatnot. One question I thought it was funny to ask you: when you say if I need anything,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly does that mean? And I don't mean that like sarcastic, but I mean as in like I've never heard that for somebody in the game, and like I don't know if that's like, do you need me to repost something? If you need advice, if you need A, B, C, and D, and what do you think I need as an artist? If you've been able to take a look at least in maybe my social media pages and stuff, like what have you seen from artists at my level, and have you seen them kind of make a hurdle into the next step?
Great, beautiful question, man. What I mean when I say that is you get zero help 100% of the time for any question that you don't ask.
Right.
So if you don't know how to do something, or you know that you need something, or you're confused by something, or whatever it is, ask, because there's a chance that I'll either know the answer or know a person that knows the answer or
Right.
be able to help or whatever. But by not asking, you just guarantee that the answer is going to be no.
Right.
So a lot of times it could be feedback on a song. It could be, do you think this person would be interested in this? It could be, hey, I don't know how to market this. Is this like the right idea in marketing? Whatever it might be, asking is the only way that somebody can help you.
Right.
Number two, it's way more important to realize where you're being inefficient in a given day and try to either improve that, outsource that, or just stop doing it for a little bit. The
Right.
majority of your time should be on creating,
Right.
just creating shit. You're an artist, and you also have to be a human being outside of being an artist, so you have inspiration to create from. So when I tell people that you can hit me anytime, people will hit me, hey, the artist that was supposed to open for us on tour just backed out. Do you know anybody that can play these 3 dates? And the only way I'm able to know who to put in the ring is other people that have hit me up and said, hey, man, if you ever hear of artists that are going on tour, I'll play for free. I just want to play shows. And I'm like, great. I wouldn't know that unless you're hitting me up, and I may not have the opportunity at the time.
Right.
But unless you hit me and tell me that, I'm never going to be able to bring that.
Yeah, you don't know what door is like unlocked for you.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times with artists too, because there is a certain ego involved, artists don't like asking for stuff because they're afraid of a no, especially when it comes to other artists. So, like, I have a lot of friends that, even though they're friends with another artist, they'll send it to me and be like, hey, do you think this artist will get on this song? And it's partly because they don't want to send it to them, and the artist says no, and then they get crushed, and then they think that they're not even friends anymore, and they're second guessing.
Yeah, and yeah. So where they're
and
like
so
their relationship
sometimes
changes.
it's one, do you even think it's worthwhile? And I'll give my opinion. And two, if it is, I got no problem. I'll send it and I'll relay back. That's one of the things I can guarantee they'll listen to it. And they'll let me know.
They're kind of like, hey, can you A&R this for me? Can it come through you
Yeah.
rather than me?
And I do that for artists all the time. But I have very more strict rules when it comes to A&R, because I believe anybody involved in a project should be respected, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to stick up for yourself. And I'm not as interested in being involved with projects that are yes men. And that goes both
Mm,
ways of like,
right.
I don't want an artist changing a song because I told them their intro was too long.
Right.
If they really love that intro, I want them to be like, look, man, I hear you. And it may reach more people, but I ain't changing that. It means too much. And I'm like, great, that's awesome.
Because that's what
That's
it's
what I
supposed to
want.
be.
Put your foot down. Don't just do it because I say it. I'm not the artist. But if I'm giving my opinion and there's no respect there, why am I even here? Like, you asked me to be here, you asked my opinion on the song. I'm not asking you to use it, but the mutual respect has to be there.
Right, but like if you're asking me, here's my answer. Don't be mad at me because you don't like my answer when you asked.
Exactly. And then the other part with what does anything mean? A lot of it is also outside of music, is like there's a lot of mental health issues with artists of both being just beaten down and feeling like you're giving up hope to feeling like you are burning out because there is no like person outside of your artist identity. And so
Right.
sometimes artists just want to vent, and that's where it's like, dude, I'm also here for that. Like, it shouldn't be something sacred where I only hit Tim when I really need something,
Right.
because if I can't help you at that one time, then it's going to be like, oh, well, I guess he can't help or whatever.
Right.
Versus
It's
I
the
have
same way you
artists
said,
that
like the
hit me.
relationship isn't always transactional.
Exactly. And it shouldn't be, but I'm not going to waste anybody's time. That's the other part of it, is like, if I don't know someone and you ask me a question and I can't help and I don't know anyone, I'll just be like, man, that's a great question. I don't know. If I do find an answer, I'll relay it to you. But yeah, I don't know, because I don't want you sitting there waiting and being wasting time, being like, oh, well, Tim will get back to me and he'll have the answer. And next thing you know, 3 weeks went by and you made no progress. That's a lose lose for both people.
Right.
And that's it.
Right. Um. So, well, I began to do that too, like to trail back to like staying on like the creative aspect. I've tried to outsource at least a bit to where like now when like me and Gabe go ahead and record, I have a friend who lives in Texas, and he kind of just handles everything. I can do it, but then I notice I begin juggling too much to where like when it comes to like just editing my content, I kind of send it to him. He knows what I like in terms of color correction, and then we found our own way of doing the captions and stuff. Um, so that's good. Hopefully that means I'm on like a good track. Because I realized like when I did the last EP, I'm like, dude, before I even drop anything, I had to spend 4 days just sitting song for song, however many pieces I had, um, just editing, and it's like I can't get back into this because now what I want to do is like once this is out and this is off my shoulders, I want to go right back into a creative avenue. I don't want to like handle so much business stuff. At least that's why like I'm asking these questions to where it's like, all right, how can I set this up to where I'm like I'm doing the minimal effort but maximizing like the experience for my fan. Um,
Yeah.
Also on top of like just being able to ask anything personal. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like even before
Yeah,
we were
let
like,
me,
man, we could just FaceTime. I was like, that's casual.
what
I
I
like
would
that.
like to do is the chance. I'm gonna dive in on your socials and your music, and I'd like to I'll do a follow up with you that's just about that, not even about groups or anything. It's just about what I think that you're doing really well and should double down, and then where I think there's room for improvement. So if you can give me like a week, like yeah, maybe like this time next week or whatever works for you, we can do a little follow up, and I can give you more personal details too.
Oh no, for sure. Like, dude, I've never had anything like that done. I think I'm always constantly caught in the idea of, am I doing this right? But I also know that my way is my way. Nobody's blueprint looks identical.
I
So
mean, you just said it. The only time you're not doing it right is when you're doing it for other people and not yourself. You're doing it right when you're educated on the pros and cons and you make a decision because it's the one that you like. And I give people that all the time. There's like a clip, I think it's Rick Rubin or somebody like that, when they're talking and they're like, when you're a kid and you're learning how to mix your own music or whatever, you may just like the way that a vocal sounds when it's way over compressed. And anybody that's a professional engineer is going to be like, oh my God, this is a terrible mix. And as long as
Right.
you know that it's over compressed and you can stick with it, and you're like, yeah, I know, but I like it like that, you're right. There is
Right.
no right or wrong in music. Music's not a subjective or objective thing like that. It's subjective. The difference is if you don't know that it's over compressed and you never want to learn about what it is, then you never really get to make the decision. You're making an ignorant choice. You're not making a
Right.
conscious choice.
I
But
believe it. I
if
believe
you're
it was
making a
Rick
conscious
Rubin too.
choice, you've already won as long as that choice is what you like.
Right. I think it was Rick Rubin because I'm pretty sure I remember that clip from the interview because he was talking like working with a band, and that some people were like that same thing, like this is insanely over compressed, and he's like, I love it. What's the problem? It's that same thing with I forget the name of the song, man. But I think it's the Sway Lee and oh man, it's what's it? Oh, in French Montana, like they have a song, and on his verse or his hook on Sway Lee's, the reverb is huge on it, and they did an interview with the engineer, and they're like, dude, this is way too much. Why are you putting so much reverb? And he's like, shut up. This is what the song's calling for. Listen to me. And then it goes diamond. So he's like, all people who said what I was doing was like technically wrong. It's what the song called for. Because I mix and master all my own stuff too. Am I the most polished? Absolutely not. But I love just messing with knobs and figuring out what sounds dope and what can end up being a new sound. That's the goal for the end of the year too. Not to have a new sound, like make up something weird or new, but just like, all right, how can I improve my sound?
Yep.
And dive more into, like you said, just being creative, like more of the time than working on everything else.
But all right, I just sent you the calendar invite, and I will jump in before Monday. And if we need to move things around next week, you got my number, and we can do that. And
sure.
I will shoot a follow up to confirm a couple of the things, like making sure you can see the members in the folder that bought stuff, the landing page release dates, and some more info on the merch and stuff. So I'll shoot a little follow up between now and then. But yeah, we'll be talking in like 5 or 6 days.
Man, I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Like you've done a whole lot more than you think you have, man. Like this is like a super important like moment for me, just to be able to have like some type of insight like that and seeing how I can grow personally, aside just from being an artist. So, I pray this is like a good relationship to start like going forward. Like you said, I can hit you for anything, so I'm gonna hit you for anything if I ever get curious about stuff. So, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Make me happier. I love
Gotcha.
it.
And then just remind me too of when the alpha goes, and if I need you, I may have to call you to help set up the storefront. My friend who I told you is working on the logo. He just messaged me now, so hopefully I'm have more updates on that at least by next week too, and see what me and him can conjure up and whatnot. So
I love it. I love it. We'll be ready to go. We'll be ready to rock. Well, this is a pleasure and the start of a great relationship, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Peace. You have a great rest of your day, man.
You too, brother.